We sat like that, both of us staring into the lambent tongues of the fire, thinking. The flames felt warm against my skin, yet I couldn't help but shiver as I thought of the changes that were happening. She was beginning to really open up to me, show me a bit of herself. It was almost as if I could see her as more of a friend than a captor. What was it called again? Stockholm Syndrome? A large sigh left my lips, and it was obvious to both of us that I was about to say more. Before I could utter another sound, she bolted up from her chair and began making her way out of the room. I didn't dare let her leave without answers. There was no way in hell she was going to brush me off this time and retreat to her room without so much as an explanation to why I was even standing here in her home. With stealth I never knew I possessed, I quickly followed her. "Why the hell did you bring me here? Why didn't you just finish me out in the forest?" I blurted out, grabbing her by the arm and jerking her body, forcing her to look at me. A wicked, intense snarl came from her chest, her fangs seeming to grow by the second as she gnashed her teeth in my direction. Without warning, she lunged toward me, pinning me to the wall with her forearm. Her strength pressed my back into the plaster with such force I completely lost my breath. I was no longer stunned by this reaction from her. I knew she only did it for show, a way to scare her prey instead of hurt them. I had enough confidence in her now to know she would never harm me, not physically anyway. Her breath was warm against my face as she eased up a bit on my throat. "Karoline, talk to me. Tell me what it is you want from me," I said, never letting go of her arm as I held on to her tightly, our faces mere inches apart. Her growl deepened, but something changed in her facial expression. A look of confusion crossed her eyes as she searched mine for something. "Why am I here?" I repeated. Her attempts to back away were weak. If she wanted to escape from this situation, she could have done it with ease. Her strength was so much more intense than mine. Instead, she rolled her shoulders, looking away from me as she stepped a bit closer, pressing her body up against mine. The action was so conflicted. It was as if I could see the war playing out in front of me. My bravery seemed to be getting to her, changing the way she saw me. Hopefully, I was no longer a prisoner in her mind, but an equal. A man could hope anyway. Never allowing her eyes to meet with mine, she eased up so her forearm was no longer crushing my jugular and pressed her hand on my chest instead, grunting to show how very conflicted she seemed to be. "You stood up to me," she mumbled. "Back in the forest, you showed more fascination than fear toward me." "No, don't say anything," she said, shaking her head and cutting me off. "I just thought since you weren't afraid of a beast like me, well, I thought you'd be good company to have around." Finally, her eyes met mine, a look of pleading in their golden depths. "It gets kind of lonely out here," she added in a mere whisper. The confession was more than I expected or could hope for. In a moment of clarity, my hand still clutched to her arm and her body pressing even closer to mine, I realized that she was just a lonesome creature with no one to talk to or even look at, other than herself. Letting go of my intense hold on her bicep, I stood stock still, allowing her hand to linger on my chest for as long as she desired. Within moments, I could feel the sharp dig of her claws gliding down and away from the surface of my cotton shirt as she backed up, releasing me from my hold between her hard body and the wall.